When I think about digital marketing and the aspect of what can get more individuals, more companies, more marketing professionals to invest more of their budget into digital marketing, measurement and ROI analytics is probably one of the biggest barriers, because companies, particularly CEOs, want to get a better sense of the impact that these different channels can have on their revenues as far as customer acquisition goes. So I thought this was going to be a pretty important area, so hopefully everyone's able to get some great value out of today's conversation. A little bit about me, and I don't know why I used this picture. I think I need to get a change because obviously my head looks a little bigger in that picture, but I'm Justin Croxton. I started a digital marketing agency while I was a full-time student at NYU Stern School of Business, so being back here is very fitting to be back here at my alma mater. 6 years, Jones Lang LaSalle, a full-service commercial real estate firm, offices all around the world, had a lot of great experience in that. So new business development was one of the areas that was really important on that side of the ledger. And hobbies, I'm an avid sailor. I do quite a bit of sailing with family and friends. Avid runner, do quite a bit of running. I'm a golfer, but as most of you probably know, most people that say they play golf are not really good at golf. And I'm certainly not good, but I certainly enjoy playing it. And I love to travel. I just got back from Lake Tahoe visiting with friends and family, all that good stuff. This presentation is more, it's not basic level, it's not advanced level, it's a little bit more in between. And so we're not going to drill into all the details, but I'm going to drill into most of the details so you can actually be able to measure some of the different digital marketing channels, but specifically the different conversion levels within your particular vertical or within your particular industry that you operate in. So the objectives, in my opinion, number one, I want you to be able to measure the digital marketing channels, but ultimately learn how to be a little more creative and become a little bit more informed in how you can go about acquiring more customers for your business. It's ultimately the goal that we want to achieve with the seminar. I want to hear from some of you. I want to kind of get a sense of the room. Who here works for a digital marketing agency or works in digital marketing? Which firm? Any particular firm?
I've been around for a little while. Right now I'm from a startup.
Got it.
I worked at AOL. I worked
Got it.
at
Okay, perfect. Appreciate that. Anyone else operate or work in the marketing agency itself? Any students here? Anyone's a student who just wants to learn more about digital marketing? Who here works for an actual company? And you're here to, gotcha, so that's the bulk of everyone. Okay, cool. Just to kind of get a sense of the room and who's working in each of the different spaces. So I graduated from NYU Stern School of Business with an MBA with a concentration in finance and strategy. So for me, I felt like it was important to talk a little bit about strategy and how that completely ties back into digital marketing, how companies can sustain a competitive advantage over a long period of time if they make the proper investment. So just real quick, just want to talk a little bit about strategy and what that means as far as my own definition. So the singular inputs that allow companies to differentiate and expropriate value in order to maintain a competitive advantage over a certain period of time, whether that's 1 year, 5 years, whatever it may be. And from a strategic standpoint, that can be based on you owning a particular location. If you're a restaurant, you have a superior location compared to the rest of the competitors that are out there. That's one aspect of strategy. Maybe it's your investment in management or human capital, and you have those individuals that's working for your firm that aren't working at some of the other firms that are out there. Maybe it's your access to finances and capital that you can make the proper investments, so you then can make more investments back into your company. Maybe that's another aspect that other competitors out there don't have that advantage of. And then also you have actual functions within the company that you're able to exploit and take advantage of. And in this case, we're talking about digital marketing and also possibly marketing in general. So a great example would be the beer industry. The beer industry, it's important that they be able to create these different taste profiles within their, wherever the beers are essentially created. But in addition to that, they have to be incredibly good at marketing. You see the different Super Bowl ads that are out there, the distributor relationships that they have with the various distributors that are out there. If they're doing a great job with those relationships, and they're also doing a great job with marketing, at the very least they're competing effectively with all of the other beer manufacturers and beer companies that are out there. So marketing becomes one of the most critical areas for folks that operate in the beer industry. So let's juxtapose that over into digital marketing. I don't personally know how long digital marketing will allow companies to have that sustainable advantage. It isn't a full-blown sustainable advantage for every single industry that's out there. But there's a ton of companies, mid-sized, small-cap companies, and even a few large companies that are not leveraging digital marketing, whether it be at all or effectively. And usually it's because they're not certain what impact it could actually have on their business. So that's why I always tell people, at the very least, make a small marginal investment. And if you make that marginal investment in digital marketing and you're doing a great job of measuring some of those different channels, at the very least you're able to get some great data and some great intelligence on how your business is operating, how you're capturing those leads, how your ability to have conversations with people that call in, downloads from your website, all those areas goes into digital marketing. Those are areas that are incredibly important from that perspective. Industry statistics. 83% of consumers search for a local business online each and every day. That's each and every day. That's not on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. Search engine optimization leads to 15% conversion rates compared to direct mail, which is at 1.7% conversion rates. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that direct mail isn't still a powerful tool, because I personally believe it actually still is a powerful tool if used the right way, and depending on the industry sector. But at the end of the day, it has everything to do with the money that you invest into that particular channel and sort of what impact it had, how the money that you put into that area, how it impacts the revenues that then comes back to your company. And if you think about it, from a direct mail perspective, all this mail is being sent out to all these individuals. But 9 times out of 10, you don't really have an interest in opening up that mail or taking a look and seeing what it's all about. But from a search engine optimization perspective, all these people are essentially searching for your brand, searching for your type of service or your product. And so what you want to do is get in front of those individuals. And that's the reason why those conversion rates are higher than what you would typically see from the other traditional marketing channels. 92% of consumers use search engines as much as they do email. I mean, I assume everyone in here has used search engine, done search on Google. I won't call anyone else out if you haven't, but it's okay. Over 70% of consumers use social media. Nowadays, social media has a huge impact on engagement, in terms of loyalty, and also in terms of outreach as well. I mean, you developing your own Facebook fan pages or your own Twitter profile, you're trying to get a bunch of folks that essentially follow you on Twitter. Being able to build up that loyal customer base can make a huge difference, both from that perspective and also now you're seeing a lot of these different social signals, whether it be Facebook likes or tweets or Google Pluses, are now having an impact on your ability to rank high for those keywords that are contextually relevant to your business. Very, very important. This right here is crazy. 583 million searches per day in the United States. In the world, it's at 4 billion searches online each and every day. In fact, I think that's actually with just Google alone. That doesn't include Bing, Yahoo, or any of the smaller search engines that are essentially out there. Inbound marketing leads, which are essentially online marketing channels, including search engine optimization, paid search, email marketing, and so forth, typically cost 61% less than those outbound marketing channels, such as direct mail, such as TV advertisements, radio, newspaper, print ads, those types of things. And then finally, this one was kind of interesting. Only 6% of CEOs are allocating their marketing budget to search engine optimization, whereas there's close to 90% of all the search traffic that's out there, or 85 to 90%, goes to any of those companies or any of those brands that are marketing and are able to rank high for those keywords that are contextually relevant to your business. So again, I'm just always asking myself, how is this? How is this the case where a lot of these companies are not able to take advantage, or maybe they just don't have the courage or the confidence, or don't understand how those different areas can really make a difference for their company. So,
Excuse me, Justin, sorry. What percentage would you recommend?
Percentage?
Yeah. If they're only spending 6%, what percentage would you recommend that?
Well, it's 6% of all the CEOs that are out there, and that was based off of the survey of these 500 CEOs. There's no particular magic number, to be honest with you, because it really does depend, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in depth, on when it makes sense to sort of increase your budget versus not increasing your budget, because you may have a certain amount of your budget that's allocated to some of those traditional marketing channels, and then you just want to sort of start weaning off some of that budget to start testing some of these other areas that could make a difference. And then at the end of the day, it has everything to do with that ROI. Does the ROI in this channel make just as much sense as making this large investment in this area? If it makes a little bit more sense to allocate a little bit more, ever so slightly, then that's ultimately what you should do. So there's no particular magic number, but I definitely believe that companies should start making that transition into search engine optimization. Based on 583 million searches a day and 4 billion searches around the world each and every day, definitely an important area. So I don't know if anyone has kind of felt like this guy right here, but what I typically see with even my clients that I've had conversations with in the past, they start a business, they offer a great product, a great service, something along those lines, and they're making the investments into these different marketing channels, but they're not really measuring. They don't know the true impact that it's having. It's sort of more so based on gut feeling versus an actual, I know that when I put this amount of money in this area, with everything else being equal, I can expect to get a range of X to Y based on that investment. And a lot of people feel that way. It's like, you know what, I don't really think about how I go about measuring. So even if you look at just the traditional marketing channels, if you were to, say you were to do a billboard ad, and hopefully there are more companies that are focused on this aspect of marketing, but if you say to yourself, okay, I spent $5,000 on a billboard ad, and at least I have a forwarding number in that billboard ad, now I can much more effectively measure the impact that that particular ad had on my company and the calls that came in. A lot of companies aren't even doing it at that level. And I totally understand, sometimes you just don't think about it. But the great thing with digital marketing, specifically with paid search or search engine optimization, is you can measure at least 90 to 95% in certain cases of those leads, of those impressions, of those searches that are essentially coming into your business. And it gives you that much more confidence and that much more courage in being able to invest into those areas within digital marketing. So we talked a little bit about the traditional marketing channels. Of course, you have advertising, some advertising billboards, radio, newspaper, maybe you have your own sales force. These are still all areas that are important. Don't want any of you to believe that making an investment in these areas aren't as important as digital marketing. They still are. But there are still ways to intelligently take that overall marketing budget and start allocating some of it to search engine optimization, to paid search, to email marketing, so you're ultimately able to see whether this channel makes the most sense in your market, in your geography, in your particular industry sector. Because for all industries, it's not going to make all the sense in the world, but I will say for most of the industries that are out there, it does. So take, for example, if you're a hedge fund, maybe it doesn't make sense, right? Because your average customer value, based on those investors that are investing into your hedge fund, might be somewhere around $100,000 to $10, $15, $20 million of revenues that are coming directly to the company. So a lot of that has to do with the individual relationships that you cultivate with those individuals. But I will say that if you have a hedge fund and you have a website, and some of those investors that are out there searching for different hedge funds to make an investment in, I can assure you that they're going to go to your site. 9 times out of 10, they're going to take a look at your site. And maybe that becomes that one attribute or that piece that convinced that investor to actually give you a phone call. Maybe and maybe it doesn't, but it certainly is worth finding out if that average customer value is $100,000 to $1 million, $2 million, or $10 million in revenue to the company. From a digital digital marketing perspective, the traditional marketing funnel still holds true in the digital marketing funnel. So any company that has a clear understanding of what this funnel looks like really helps you make decisions from a digital marketing perspective. So when you just kind of usher clients or usher searchers or shoppers through the purchasing funnel, it all starts with brand awareness. So what am I doing to ensure that at the very least my brand is being found by potential shoppers, potential searchers that are out there, maybe not so much looking for my brand, but at the very least looking for the service or the product that my brand is able to provide that particular person. After that, they go down to the next stage of interest. Wow, they actually now have an interest, a true, genuine interest in this product or in the service. But at that stage, you're still sort of at the brand awareness level. And then the next stage after that is discovery and consideration, where now that individual is truly interested in shopping around, trying to figure out, okay, who can I go to that can fix this problem or solve this problem that I have. And then after that, of course, it's sale. And then even below that, as I said before, it's the stage of loyalty. And so we talked a little bit about how social media has an impact at that stage from a loyalty perspective. And also social media has an impact at the advocacy stage, when you have people that are tweeting your brand, sharing your brand in different ways. Even if you are running an email marketing campaign, it can still have an amazing impact at loyalty and also at the advocacy stages. This is typically what it looks like, though. So take, for example, Audi. Audi, they had ran that Super Bowl ad a little bit under 7 months ago, yeah. Was it 7 months ago? 7 months ago, something like that. Ran into a television ad. There's a number of people that decide, okay, wow, I love this television ad. I'm going to go online to Google, Yahoo, or Bing, and I'm going to do a search. In this case, they went to the Google search and they saw a display network advertisement on Google. They did some research, they were able to see the ad, they went directly to the website, said, okay, I got some great information, I'm done. They come back the next day, and then now they're at the discovery stage. Okay, I'm going to go to Yahoo and check out some information on some different Audi dealerships that are out there. They come back again to the consideration stage, and they said, you know what? Now I have 3 Audi dealerships that I want to focus on. That's within the 5 to 10 mile radius of where I currently live. And then after they've decided on which Audi dealership they want to go to, they say, you know what? I want to go ahead and purchase that Audi from that particular car dealership. That's typically what the process looks like. From a traditional marketing funneling down to a digital marketing perspective can make a huge difference from that perspective. But also, this is also typically what it looks like as well. When you have an individual that's performing a search online, but some of those individuals have also gone through social media, they've also gone through email marketing, they've also gone through sort of display advertising network. Maybe there's an army of individuals that are selling products and services online on your behalf, and maybe you saw one of their advertisements as well. There's a way to measure all of those areas to get a sense of what was the true path to purchase that that individual followed, or that those groups of individuals followed mostly, so that you're able to make a much more informed decision on which areas you should invest more in. So maybe I should invest a little bit more in search engine optimization, because I know that when people land on one of my listings that occur or that rank in the organic listings, maybe I'm going to get more sales from that particular end of the funnel. Maybe it makes a little bit more sense to invest in paid search. Google Analytics, and there's a couple other tools that are out there, are amazing tools that allows you to look at the attribution models for a particular, all these different digital marketing channels that you want to invest in. We're not going to go into that much detail on attribution modeling, but I did want to let you know that that is definitely achievable, and you can look at all those different areas and how each of those areas can have an impact as far as the purchase funnel that a shopper may go through. Slide. So just want to make certain that we're all on the same page as far as what search engine optimization is, and also what paid search is. So paid search is everything that shows up in the top 3 or 2 listings in Google. So you have these three right here, and then also anything that occurs on the right-hand side of Google, and also Yahoo as well as Bing. Bing and Yahoo are essentially leveraging and utilizing the same technology and platform from a search engine marketing perspective. So you can sort of apply the same philosophy, the same theories, both within those networks as well as within Google. And then everything else is search engine organic listing based. So this is one of the clients that we work with. They're a bankruptcy law practice. We typed in affordable bankruptcy attorneys, and based on that, they are ranking right there within Google. They also have a local search listing. That's also another area within Google, which is incredibly important. We talked a little bit about how 83% of searches are done at the local level, meaning people are searching for local businesses each and every day. 70%, 83%. That's essentially local search. So when you see an A, B, C, D, and all those different mapping locations that are over there, all of that is local search. And then this right here, everything pretty much going down from there is effectively organic listings that are showing up in the organic search. Thought this was kind of an important statistic and a pretty cool graph. And the question was, how was your marketing team's success evaluated? This survey was commissioned by HubSpot. They have an amazing analytics package and software that they provide to small business owners and mid-sized companies that are out there. And CEOs looked at and said revenues were most important at 17%. Customers and wins were at 16%. Traffic to my actual website was at 14%. Total leads generated and brand awareness was somewhere around 11 to 12%. Those are typically the areas that we're focusing on within our agency for clients. Because that's all that really matters. And even mostly for the small business owner and also the mid-sized company, we care more about sales. The brand awareness stuff, forget about brand awareness. I want to get sales if I'm a small business owner, because I'm more concerned about cash flow and money that's coming into my company versus someone now is aware of my brand. Even though brand awareness is important, you may look at brand awareness and you say, okay, if someone's now aware of my brand, at the very least, they can go through that marketing funnel a lot quicker to interest, to discovery, down to consideration and purchase a lot quicker. So the brand awareness is still incredibly important, but we want sales. We want sales, we want more revenues to come into our companies. And that's what ultimately matters. So when our agency, when we look at sort of the different performance metrics that we create for prospective clients, this is sort of a summary of some of the things that we focus on, but we break it down to three different buckets. First, you have leading KPIs or key performance indicators. Then you have marketing indicators. And then finally, you have revenue and business KPIs. The revenue business KPIs are the most important as far as I'm concerned. And probably it should be for all the other companies that are out there. Second of importance, of course, is marketing. But as an agency, we need to do a great job in figuring out how are we performing as we're doing paid search or search engine optimization or email marketing, or we're doing multivariate or A/B split testing on some of those emails that we send out to prospective clients. So as far as just a quick lesson on search engine optimization, the way companies rank high in Google or in any search engine out there is A, by having a great website, number one, and having your site be about those keywords that are contextually relevant and have everything to do with your brand or the service or the product that you're looking to sell or push out there to the market. And the second way is by creating backlinks. So let's say I have justin.croxton.com. I then come to you and I say, hey, would you put a backlink or put my website on your website? You say yes. Or you say, you know what, I love this site so much, I'm going to social bookmark this site, or I'm going to place this site on my site because this site is just so great, and I just love everything about it. That's essentially what a backlink is. It's like a vote at the end of the day. And the more votes you get, depending on the varying degrees of power within those different websites, and how those websites are directly relevant and related to your business or to your brand, the more power you get out of the backlinking strategy that you may ultimately create for your brand. We're also going to be looking at click-through rates from both a search engine optimization perspective as well as from an AdWords paid search perspective. We're looking at rankings, we're looking at page rank, we're looking at your average position from an AdWords perspective, so where you are ultimately ranking in AdWords, whether it be position 1 through 3, or on the right-hand side of Google, positions 4 through 8 or 10 in certain cases. So that's sort of what we'll look at, and we'll provide those reports to our clients so they see the effort and the work that we're putting in around those leading KPIs for business. But the areas that most companies really care about is marketing and business revenues. So obviously we have to look at visitors, the unique visitors that are coming to the site, as well as those that are returning. So that helps us get a better perspective as far as does our website promote a great user experience? And are we also able to get more people to come back to the site even after they visited? Even whether it's 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, or what have you. When we're looking at tweets and shares, we're looking at brand mentions. We're able to track the actual brand itself and where it's being mentioned on the web. So we can see, okay, this week we had about 10 brand mentions. This week we kind of jumped up to about 20. This next month we jumped up to about 50. Being able to kind of track those things, can have a huge impact on any small business that's out there. And it's important that we have a clear understanding of what that looks like. We also want to look at phone impressions as well. So these right here are what I like to call phone impressions, and there's a way that you can add sort of a call ad listing within Google on the paid search side of it, and your ad will actually show up with the phone numbers. But obviously, if you're doing local search, you can also have it show up in the local search engines as well, which is great because you don't even have to worry about the person going to your site. You just see a phone number and they'll call in. A perfect example, I have a client who's a bail bonds agency. About the interesting thing with that is, you see, you have a buddy or someone that's about to go to jail. I'm not really trying to do a lot of research on your business. I just kind of want to call someone and get someone out of jail. And that's also sort of the great thing about mobile is mobile sort of creates this shorter path to purchase. And so the mobile campaign that we're running for the client is performing at least 350% better than the tablet, the computer campaign that we're running for the client, because the person can pull out their phone, man, my buddy just went to jail, type in a couple, bail bonds agencies, New York City bail bonds, Brooklyn bail bonds, whatever it may be. Listings pop up. Now you're on your phone, you can actually hit a button that will allow you to call that company, decreasing the path to purchase. Anything that's out there that decreases the path to purchase makes that marketing channel much more powerful. And even just think about it for a second. Look at just how the internet has decreased the path to purchase for consumers that are now out there able to find information much more effectively. And then within the internet phase, which of course we're in now, you have computers, and then you also have the mobile campaigns that you may run. So it's also always nice to just sort of think about your business in that light and gain a much clearer understanding of whether that funnel or whether that particular device could have an impact if you were to make an investment in that particular area of digital marketing, whether it's a tablet or a computer or a mobile device for that matter. So this is where it all starts as far as measuring your ROI for a company or for the individual companies that you operate in. So just we'll do an example together. Let's say you own or you work in the hotel industry, and you know that on average you're going to make somewhere around $150. You're going to make $150 per night, and that individual is going to, on average, stay at your hotel 3 nights out of their stay, on average. So from an ACV perspective, your average customer value obviously is going to be $450 that you'll essentially make from each customer, each client, each individual that books through your website or calls in as you book on their behalf. $450. Now this is the most basic level of looking at your average customer value for a particular company, but you can take it a step further, and you can even look at the referral customer value. And let's say on average you get somewhere around 5% of customers that you bring in will actually refer business to someone else that will then come into the fold and utilize your products or your services. So let's say that number is somewhere closer to 5%. 5% of that 450 is somewhere around, say, I think it's $22.50. So now you know that number. You know what your referral value is, your referral customer value. So that's an important area. The other area that's also important as well is retention value at $450. So you have another, let's say we're just going to keep it simple, another 5% of individuals are essentially retention customers as well. That once again ends up being $22.50. And then based on that whole number, your actual total customer value comes out to be about, let's see, that's 5, 9. So $495 ends up being your true customer value, your total customer value for individuals that are essentially staying at your hotels, for the most part. Now, let's change it up a little bit. Let's say that instead you are a software developer, a software-based company, and it's a subscription-based company, effectively. And this is more so of a, what's the best way to look at it? This is more so of a monthly retainer that you're getting each and every month. So you're getting $495 each and every month. Then you want to now look at the cash flow implications when you're making an investment into digital marketing, any of these digital marketing channels. Because maybe it doesn't make sense to look at this from a 12-month perspective. Because if you look at this from a 12-month perspective, you know, those cash flows for some of these may not come in as soon as you would like, or you may not be able to make the proper investments in other areas of your business if you were to look at the actual or the total customer value from the 12 months times the $495 per month. Maybe it makes a little bit more sense to kind of make that a little bit smaller and focus on maybe 3 months of actual customer value that you get from each of these customers that you bring into your business. So instead, we're looking at $1,500 in average customer value, give or take, or versus 6 months of customer value or 12 months of customer value. Whichever way you want to slice and dice it is really up to the individual company, but it's always important to look at it from that perspective because cash flow is king in any business, particularly a small business owner, you know, that needs to, you know, make a payment for the space that they're renting, or the people that they want to hire, or other marketing channels that they want to make an investment in. But it all starts with average customer value. And so we talked about the traditional marketing funnel, but I want to go over this just one more time. And this is certainly going to look different for each different company, each different, you know, product line or service line or industry that's out there. But say the shopper sees your ad on Google or your listing within Google, Bing, Yahoo, whatever search engine you want to choose. They then visit your website. They get a chance to experience your brand. After they've experienced your brand, they then either sign up or they call you or they make a purchase. If they don't make a purchase and they have called you and they've either left a voicemail, you've either answered the phone or you followed up with that individual. And then you will finally close the sale for that individual. That's typically what the conversion funnel looks like, particularly for those small business owners and mid-sized companies that are out there. For the mid-sized companies, maybe you have a sales force that's answering the phones, but ultimately, that's what the traditional funnel or conversion process will look like. And so now that you have a much clearer understanding of what each conversion funnel or each conversion level looks like for your business, now that you know this number, you can place values on the phone calls that are coming in. You can place values on email signups, because now you can get data that's statistically significant based on the number of people that have sent you emails, that have called you, that have reached out to you, you know, also your close rate. So we're going to look at that in a little bit more depth as well. But there's a lot of different conversion funnels that you have to take into consideration, all the way from actual in-store visits and the percentage of people that actually purchase from you after they visit your store. There's ways that you can get that data with a certain level of success. Phone calls, a number of people that have actually called into your organization. Any forms that you've created that are on your site and people are filling out those forms and you receiving that email, that's another conversion level that you can place value on. Proposal requests and assessments. So someone says, you know what, I'd like to receive a proposal from you guys. We just got one the other day. And so now we're getting to a stage where we're getting enough proposal requests and assessments where we can say, okay, based on the number of folks that then visit our website and the advertising and marketing that we're doing, we can say, all right, we know that based on 100 people that come to our site on a regular basis, we'll get about 1% of those will actually be proposals and assessment requests. And then based on that, we know that for every 5 proposals or assessment requests, we're able to close about 20% of those individuals. Social shares, that can be incredibly important in terms of measuring brand awareness, but I still think that's an incredibly important area, particularly when we're talking about it from a marketing KPI perspective. And so now that you have a much clearer understanding of all these different conversion levels, and I know that sort of is somewhat valuable and changes with each business and vertical and company that's out there, now you have a much clearer understanding. I want to talk a little bit about just a small example on what kind of build up from there. This was a client that we were doing some work for. It was a really, really small investment that we made in paid search. Spent $140, it was a property management company in Atlanta, Georgia. Spent $140. We achieved an average cost per click of $3.33, which then turned into 42 website visitors that were attributed directly from the paid search campaign that we did for the client. We also placed some call tracking on their behalf, so we were able to get a sense that there were 5 phone calls in total that came to their business as a result of the paid search campaign that they ran for this particular campaign. There was one form that was filled out on their website, and their average customer value is somewhere around $1,000 to $2,500, but we took a much more conservative approach and looked at it from just the $1,000 number versus the $2,500 or an average of those two. So if they just say they just closed only 20% of those 5 phone calls, then they've gotten one client being picked up. If one of those lead forms that were generated, meaning the individual, and they told us about this particular individual, they were looking for a home that's somewhat in the outskirts of where they typically operate, so they can refer that business to someone else if they wanted to, and get some value out of that, but we didn't factor that in. $140 are invested into the campaign over 2 days, $1,000 that they got an average customer value that translates into an 86% profit margin. Now, for most businesses, I think that's a pretty good margin for most businesses that are out there, but that may not make sense for certain businesses. It really ultimately depends based on the cash flows that are coming into your business, the areas that you want to make investments in, and all those different factors. We are, our firm, we're in the process, we're teaming up with another agency, and we're creating an infographic that's based on the real estate industry. So Beyonce, I think this will speak very much so to the industry that you work in, commercial real estate. Well, we say to ourselves, okay, what does the real estate lead generation funnel looks like? So you will say you're an agent out there, you work for a brokerage firm, and you want to say, okay, if I were to make an investment in this area, in digital marketing, whether it's paid search or search engine optimization, how much could I actually make, or what would that ROI look like for my company? So just kind of go through the process together. 20,000 searches. Say, for example, if the number of people are performing searches each and every day for keywords that are related to purchasing a home or selling a home or something along those lines, right? And 1% of those 20,000 searches or impressions actually turns into website visitors. So individuals that go ahead, visit your website. So you have 200 site visits. Based on that, 10% of those people that visit your website decide that they actually want to go ahead and give you a call. Maybe some of them have also sent you an email. Maybe some of those individuals have also filled out a lead generation form. But ultimately, you're getting about 20 phone calls to your business. And then based on those 20 phone calls, you get 5% of those phone calls actually you're able to close. which I think if you're a real estate agent, that's a pretty low number, but it's my opinion. That then translates into one client. So tying that back to average customer value, we just looked at average of what the average home sales would be in Atlanta, Georgia. We said it was $200,000 that would be purchased or sold at a 6% commission rate. So 6% times 200,000 ends up being somewhere around $12,000 in commissions. 12,000 that's split between the co-op listing brokerage firm and the listing brokerage firm that ends up being about $6,000. If you further break that $6,000 between the brokerage firm and the real estate agent, it ends up being $3,000. Just to be a little bit more conservative, we only looked at the money that the actual individual brokerage firm earned for the money that they invested into this paid search or into search engine optimization. So based on that, now that we know that $3,000 commission number, we can back in and get a sense of what our margin should be from a cost per clicks perspective, from an app perspective, from a phone call perspective. So now we know that 3,000 divided by those 20 calls, in order to get to at least a break-even level, turns out to be $150 per each phone call. Not ad, but per phone call that comes in to the company. $3,000 in commission divided by 200 site visits translates into a $15 break-even cost per click. I personally know that the break-even cost per click, or even the cost per click within Google for real estate terms, are not $15. They're less than that, for sure. I've seen it myself. In terms of research that I've done, and stuff that I've even done for the property management firm or for other prospective clients. So now that you know what that break-even cost per click is, you can now create your own, do your own, create your own milestones, your own goals, your own revenue goals within your company, and hold those digital marketing agencies accountable for the results that you want them to achieve, or at the very least, everyone's on the same page around the target profit margins that you want to make within a campaign. So in here you have, whether it's a 25%, 50%, or 75% profit margin, you can now see those different levels that you should hold those digital marketing agencies accountable for, whether you're doing it internally or whether you're having someone else doing it. You now have a much clearer understanding of how to measure from an ROI perspective. We know what our average customer value is. We can place values on each stage of that funnel, and we can then create our own targets and then test and measure the campaign based on that, which this is incredibly powerful in the world of digital marketing. We have some spreadsheets that we use internally that's even more, a little bit more built out than this. If you'd like a copy of this, I'm happy to send you, but I don't want to bore you with too many numbers. Conversational numbers, that would be a pain in the butt. But what I will say is part of what we did is we built out the model for a prospective client. This is a company that does sort of like an office sharing environment based in New Jersey. And we sort of looked at what they may potentially earn as far as the lower range and the upper range from an average customer value perspective. And we also looked at the demand features, particularly within the geography that you would essentially be performing some advertising campaigns on their behalf. So it was somewhere around 1,600 to 2,000 impressions or searches that are occurring each and every day in that particular area. We assumed about a $40 total cost for that. This average cost per click is pretty low. I think it's probably going to be somewhere closer to about $1.50, probably closer to $2. And that's part of the reason why up here, when we look at the total clicks per day and the target cost per click, it's $2 and not trying to aim for this 99 cents, which would be an insane ROI for the client. So if anyone wants sort of a copy or a sample, I'm more than happy to email that over to you. In addition to being able to understand how to measure your ROI for your investment that you make in these different digital marketing channels, most people also want to understand what are the different tools that can be very powerful for companies from a measurement perspective. I told you that Google Analytics is by far the best as far as I'm concerned. It's also free, so you don't have to pay for it, which is also very nice too. So if you don't have Google Analytics on your websites, particularly if you're focused on ROI for your company and you want to see how your website is interacting with potential searchers, with potential customers that are interested in your brand or in your service. We also use Google conversion tracking. And you can do a lot of this goal setting and conversion tracking within Google Analytics, but Google conversion tracking takes it a step further, which is a very powerful tool to use. HubSpot is another really, really good tool as well. It sort of does a lot of lead scoring for your business. So if you get leads and let's say you get let's say 100 leads, on average a week, you don't want to follow up with all those leads. So they do a really good job in sort of scoring those different leads at different levels so you can know who you should reach out to, who you should send additional emails to, who you should, send some sort of start another campaign with, so forth. So HubSpot's another great tool. Hootsuite, there's a ton of social media aggregators out there. Hootsuite is very, very simple. They also have a pretty decent analytics platform. So that's another good area that you can use. Moz Analytics is primarily what our agency uses from a search engine optimization perspective. It's an amazing tool. They're even rolling it out even further than what they've done thus far. Raven Tools is another one. I don't use Raven Tools, but I've heard some pretty good stuff about it. Another one that's not on here is Majestic SEO. Majestic SEO is another great tool that's out there as well. Majestic SEO. If you want to move more into measuring the actual phone calls that are coming in to your business, you can do something as simple as getting a forwarding number for your business and just doing it from just a campaign level. So if you want to get, let's say, 5 different phone numbers and you want to measure maybe different channels in which you're marketing your business through, whether it's the traditional channels or digital marketing channels, that can be very powerful. If you want to get even more granular than that, and you want to look at the keywords that produce actual phone calls to your business, then you can use something like CallRail or Mongoose Metrics. Now we're really moving into the area of truly lowering your overall average customer, customer acquisition cost for your company. And it's not necessarily required, but it can be a very, very powerful tool. And I told you that I sent you the spreadsheet that we just had a conversation on. I also told you that I would talk a little bit about content strategy. Again, from a digital marketing perspective, even from a brand perspective, and just for your business in general, if you're doing everything within your power to add value to that end consumer, to that shopper, enabling them and helping them become much more informed about whether purchase decision you're trying to make, you are putting yourself in a much better position to attract more customers, retain more customers, add more value in people's lives. And so that's why content strategy is now even more important. If I were to sort of create a bucket, if you will, or sort of a hierarchy, content strategy and website is about 80%. Search engine optimization is maybe about the other 20%. And then breaking it down from there, I'd say maybe somewhere around 80% has to do with backlinks that you create for your site or the votes that you get for your website, and then on-page optimization is about 20%. Those numbers are somewhat valuable, but that's effectively what those numbers, that's essentially what it is. Because why should I, as a searcher or as a consumer, be engaged in your brand and it's crap? Why should I do that? You do as much marketing as you want. But the whole idea is you invest more on the content strategy side, you get way more bang for your buck when you're doing your marketing campaigns. You're getting many more leads. You have many more opportunities to capture those leads and follow up with those leads. So that's why I tell folks, website, make the investment. Content, definitely make the investment. You invest in those 2 areas, the rest of your world from a digital marketing perspective will be that much easier. So if you do put money, whether it's $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to a website and content, do that before you go ahead and do search engine optimization and paid search, because it's going to make your life a lot easier. So that's some homework for all of you. I'm not going to check, obviously, but first things first. I think the best thing that you can do is definitely clean up your website. First, run an Google AdWords test campaign for your business. You don't have to spend $1,000, $2,000 to run this campaign. You can spend $300 to $500 and you can get some great data, get some great statistics on your website, how your brand, how your business is performing as individuals are searching and looking for your product or your service online. It just provides great data, and also, I mean, the goal is in fact to get a sale or get a number of sales. So if you get sales and you get phone calls, then you're halfway there. You've sort of done that test campaign, and then as you start to get more cash flows that are coming in, whether it's through the digital marketing channel or through some of the other channels in which your company is growing, you're able to then take those cash flows and make those marginal investments and increase those marginal investments back into search engine optimization, back into paid search for your company. I told you about getting Google Analytics installed on your website. Did I say that before? Yeah. Just want to be sure, yeah. Get Google Analytics installed on your website. It's going to give you great intelligence, great data on how your website is performing. That kind of juxtaposes back to the conversation on why it's so important to have a good, effective website that engages with that customer or with that search. Develop your own model for measurement. Now, I told you before that the online retailer or the individual that has a jewelry store is going to be different from a measurement perspective or from even their own not model, but I would say their marketing funnel is going to be different than the service-based business or the brokerage firm. So you want to sort of build your own funnel and get a sense of what the percentages look like. If someone visits my website, what's the chances of them actually calling in? What's the chances of them sending me an email? What's the chances of them actually downloading one of my forms or downloading this white paper that I created in this particular industry? Then, what are the chances of me, when I get them on the phone, of me actually closing that individual as a prospective client or customer for my business? Develop your own model and also determine what that lead generation funnel looks like for your business. Clean up your websites. Bottom line, clean up your websites. There's a great, infographic that's out there. There's a ton of them. This is one that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I want to put that up there. URLs there. If you ask me, I'm more than happy to send you this actual presentation. You'll have all this data. I guess I should have said that at the very beginning. I'm more than happy to send this to you if you just want a copy of it. Start blogging. From a search engine optimization perspective, if you're doing research on those topics that people want to learn more about and you're blogging about those particular areas, naturally over time you're going to start to rank for some of those long-term, long-tail keywords, and you're going to start to rank some of those more powerful keywords. It can take time based on the industry that you're operating in, based on the level of competition, for some of those keywords. But ultimately, if you're creating content that speaks to what people are searching for, why shouldn't you rank for those keywords or for those keyword phrases? It just sort of naturally makes sense. It's not a perfect world within Google, but over time, you'll be able to sort of get your way up there over time, along with a lot of other things, but that's one. Yes.
Two questions. One is, how do I know what words they're searching in that area? And two would be, how do I link on a blog, a website, to the website? Like, should I have like two separate sites, like one blogging and one the actual site?
You should have, your blog should be, in my opinion, directly attached to your business. So if it's tdallissmithandcompany.com, that's sort of the real estate brand, and then it would be /blog or blog or whatever you want to call it, but ultimately it's a blog. Because you want to get power from your blog that then attaches directly to your main site. So, I guess everyone knows what this picture is. It's a bunch of dogs staring at a little cat. If there's anything that I wanted you to get out of this, it was ultimately courage. Plain and simple. Courage and confidence, making certain that you have not all the tools, but at least some insight into being able to measure these different digital marketing channels for your own respective businesses that you operate in. I personally believe that the more confidence that companies have and the more understanding that they have and make an investment in these areas, the better off they will be. But even with that being said, the more courage that they'll have to make those investments into areas that can put them ahead of their competition. It really comes down to courage and leadership at the end of the day. We're not always going to be able to know with certainty that this area of marketing is going to be powerful for our business, but at the very least we gave it a try. We made that test in that area. And we then found out that within our area, within our geography, within our industry, that digital marketing made this impact to our business, and as a result, we can reinvest those cash flows back into the company, back into these other areas of our business. And even just being ahead of the curve, whether it's 6 months ahead of the curve or a year ahead of the curve, can make that much more of a difference for a company that's looking to grow at 10%, 20%, 30% growth rate. So that can be incredibly important.